Hi everyone, some gamer dude here. It looks like I'm keeping on theme by talking about the big three once again. This time it's about Pokemon, and specifically the topic of booster packs, because Pokemon once upon a time had the best booster packs in existence. But before we get to the topic of today, if you like today's content and want to help the channel, be sure to share the video, like, and subscribe. I haven't seriously touched the Pokemon TCG since the introduction of the uppercase EX Pokemon back in Generation 5. But from what I've seen from openings and personal experience with the first partner packs, Pokemon boosters are an absolute nightmare today. The print run feels off, as if certain cards appear more frequently than others, rares seem to be far more common than uncommons, and packs are all too frequently all trash cards, literally throwing money away. None of this is helped by the extremely high set sizes Pokemon has today, comparable to Magic, and uncommon holding more useful cards than standard rare, though the uncommon versus rare thing has been true for a very long time. The thing is, poor drop rates are nothing new. It wasn't unheard of for games of the early 2000s to have one-a-box or even one-a-case rarities for functionally unique cards. So it can be far worse than current Pokemon, or any currently printed game actually. Today I think there is a better understanding of drop rates, individual card quality, and deck construction thanks to the internet. But with that, complaints about drop rates have become more prominent than ever. Singles don't really help when that just drives home how scarce and desired a certain card actually is, or for more niche games, they simply aren't available. If anything, singles prices are part of the complaints. From a business standpoint, it's understandable. Artwork costs for a TCG average out to about $1,000 USD per piece, give or take. Multiply that by your set size, add in manufacturing, shipping, taxes. That's your cost. Now you have to sell through enough to hit an amount of profit to make the venture worthwhile. On top of that, most companies have profit goals for products put upon them from their boards, investors, and or shareholders. While a game might be successful and profitable, the expectations put upon it might be so extreme that the game has to take on more abusive practices to reach those goals, force the consumer to buy more. If only we could create a system that achieved those sales goals and didn't make the consumer feel bad or view the product poorly. Oh wait, that actually existed. And of all people, money-grubbing Wizards of the Coast made it way back in 1999 with Pokemon. While parents were up in arms about the Pokemon TCG way back when, hindsight being 2020 makes it much easier to see that Pokemon under Wizards of the Coast, specifically how the card drop rates were handled, was actually peak TCG. Pokemon back then was split into two product types, core sets and expansions. Core sets for Pokemon being Base Set 2, Gym Heroes, Gym Challenge, Neo Genesis, Neo Destiny, and the Legendary Collection. These had between 16 and 20 rare holo cards, and with the exception of the two gym sets, these were all unique cards. The gym sets having 4 alternative art, rare holo, gym leader trainer cards each. Rare holos drop 1 in 3 boosters, meaning that of a 36 pack box, you got 12 holo hits. I don't think kids or parents picked up on that at the time, but this was very generous. You are pulling over 50% of the foils all the way up to 75% from one box. Even with the sets introducing Shining and Crystal Pokemon, those cards were exclusively for collectors, meaning they didn't bear any real weight upon the player. If anything, for a player, not a hybrid player-collector, you could feasibly buy a box and trade into what you wanted, maybe 2 boxes if necessary. But alas, Pokemon's collector base dwarfs its player base, always has. But even then, probably 2 boxes to finish a set? That's great value. But it gets even better with the expansion packs. Jungle, Fossil, Rocket, Neo Discovery, and Neo Revelations. These sets are much lower than most TCGs today, as low as 62 cards with a bloated card count. Yes, 62 when bloated. That's because these sets have a very special quirk to them. Every rare is printed at both standard rare and rare holo. You will end up with most every rare holo from a box, as there are only between 14 and 17 a set, but you will still get 23 normal rares per box, 1.3 times how many rares there actually are in the set. These standard rares have next to no value, so for a player, as the collectors are getting rid of those, you can get them on the cheap. The rare and rare holo setup doesn't seem that much different to the reverse holos of today, and 1 in 3 boosters was replicated by other games of the time for their own equivalents to reverse holo. But there was a further quirk that played into the psychology of the collector and player-collector hybrid. The holo versions were not only proper holos, but had unique set numbers. Back in those days, cards were ordered by card type, then rarity, not Pokemon type. So all the rare holo Pokemon, then rare, uncommons, and commons. Then repeat that for trainers and finally energy cards. The only exception being the rare holo trainers and energy, which took the position after the rare holo Pokemon. If you're a collector, which most people were for Pokemon, this creates a massive hole in your collection. While you may have the Evolutions, or Aerodactyl, or Dark Blastoise, because you don't have the rare holo version, when you open up the first page of that set in your folder, holes, and large amounts of them. You better get the rare holo versions to fill up that folder, kiddo. This is somewhat comparable to how ultra rares are handled today, with multiple variant printings, but those use out of set numbering. They are secret extra cards. They aren't in the main set. Rare holos were. There's also another thing to consider, the Japanese originals and the effect those have upon the English cards. As I mentioned earlier, these sets are bloated in spite of that small set size. The original Japanese version of Pokémon Jungle had 48 cards to the English edition's 64 cards. This is because in the Japanese original, all rares were only in holo and one a pack. The holographic cardstock actually had a direct effect on the art direction too, as the artwork backgrounds for these cards were produced under the presumption that these cards would be produced on holographic cardstock. Due to this, the English edition standard rares look off for a great deal of the artworks, having abstract or bland backgrounds, looking closer to a Yu-Gi-Oh card where the character is the main focus of the piece. Even the rare holos with actual backgrounds like Jungle Clefable are clearly made with the intention of holographic cardstock. The standard one looks less detailed than other cards produced just for a standard print and noticeably inferior to the rare holo version. This further pushes people to bring out both their collections and decks, more so than the current ultra rare paradigm. More in line with normal and full art versions of cards, but arguably a bit better in regards to the psychological effect it has on people. Let's not kid ourselves though, this was done for financial reasons. While they have claimed that this was done so rare holos don't get damaged, sleeves not being commonplace at the time, the reality was that Wizards did not want a rare holo in every pack. They wanted them to be special and drive up sales. Creatures Inc. over in Japan would even copy this practice during their version of the e-reader era, resulting in, at the time, very large Japanese sets. The benefits to our discussion? A system that generates sales while providing a budget alternative to expensive cards? That's a side effect, possibly even a bug, not a feature. Rare holos dropping 1 in 3 packs? That's the feature. This practice would cease with the end of the e-reader era and Wizards' tenure of the Pokémon trading card game. Nintendo would instead opt to include cards from half decks and other assorted Japanese products into main sets to bloat out the card count. Creatures Inc. introduced their brand new EX Ultra Rares into the mix to push sales, but all of this was far more brazen and money-grubbing than anything Wizards had done till then with their Pokemon license. When Wizards' Pokemon tenure is discussed, the topic usually hits a few specific beats. The good old days of Pokemania, Wizards' issues with Nintendo, not licensing the Vending Machine or Versus series, and their tournament age restrictions. The fact they altered sets is usually swept aside. I, however, think it's definitely worth discussing. What Wizards did, while definitely done for predatory reasons, made Pokemon arguably have the best booster packs of all time. Till next time, friends, this has been Some Gamer Dude, and thanks for watching!